Hey, welcome to the Dodgeball Marketing Podcast and Video Podcast. This is episode number
15.
15.
Yep.
We're 15 in.
One fiver.
My name is Chris. This guy's Michael.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. Happy Friday.
Let's talk about healthcare marketing.
Yes, and in particular, we're going to talk about the gaps in patient acquisition.
Ooh, the gaps.
Yeah, we do a lot of patient acquisition marketing, and so we've been identifying over the last few years a real shift toward, well, why don't you talk about it, a more consumer mindset?
Yeah, it's really the consumerization or the Amazonification of healthcare.
The add to cartification of healthcare services.
Yeah. So historically, Michael, people have looked at healthcare as something where you sort of defer to maybe your primary care physician. So you develop a relationship with your physician. And if you need to see, say, a dermatologist or an oncologist or someone like that, you look to your primary care physician and he or she will tell you where you should go.
Yep.
And then you go there with no questions asked.
Yeah, and so
that's more of a
referral network.
Yeah, it's more of relying on the high priesthood of the doctor, the MD, to refer you out to where you need to go. And really, specialty practices didn't really have to market at all. They didn't have to put their services out there. They didn't have to persuade people because they kind of came in pre-sold. People aren't really behaving. People are more and more not behaving like that. They want to see. They want to be able to choose their healthcare provider in the same way that they choose something off of Amazon.
Yeah, and so these days, when someone needs a CT scan or an MRI, often they're getting online and they're making choices. They're even looking for pricing information.
Yeah, how much does this other one can give me a CT scan for? Yeah.
So, of course, just a huge shift, and the reason we're talking about this today is a lot of care providers don't have a strong background in, say, online marketing. They're also generally not marketers. So you might be a practice owner or founder or an office manager or someone who's sort of responsible for taking care of the customers and not really have a background in marketing. And so we're going to talk a little bit about where we see some of the assumptions that are in place in marketing. And I want to tell a quick story. A few years ago, I was putting together a program. I wanted to sell websites to dentists. And my family was living in Maryland. Briefly, we had moved up there for a job, and this was before I started GoEps. And I did a study. I created a data set of all the dentists in the state of Maryland and all their websites. And what I found was on the East Coast, 75% of them had websites, not even 100%. 75% of the dentists had websites. The middle of the state, sort of the more populated area along, I guess, 270, about 50%. And in the mountains, only a quarter, 25%. So headcount-wise, per capita, it kind of averaged out to about half the dentists in the state of Maryland even had a website 8 to 10 years ago. And I was stunned. I thought, wow, this is going to be a great opportunity. I have this website. I have Maryland Dentist Finder. It's going to be really a local kind of tool for people to find a dentist, and everybody's going to want to be listed on the Dentist Finder. And I'm going to have my own little niche directory, and any of them who show up and don't have a website, I'm just going to market the websites, and this is great. And so I did a survey and started to collect some data. And what I found was that a lot of the dentists and a lot of the frontline workers at the front desk, they had zero interest in gaining new business. It was stunning to me. I had assumed that this was kind of the world of business. It's like you're running an operation. You've got a building. You got people coming and going. You want more business. I had dentists say things like, we're next to a school. We really couldn't handle more than we're doing right now. I had frontline workers, people who are answering the phones, taking walk-ins, say things like, we're busy. We don't really, please don't come around here. This is not what we want. And what it showed me was there's almost an extension of that referral network for healthcare providers that applies to the culture of a lot of healthcare. So when people are coming in and they're walking in, unless it's an entity with a lot of elective services like dermatology or any of the sort of elective procedures that have created their own shops and their own networks, they really don't traditionally have the roots of a culture of customer service. So customer service for them is almost an addition, but it's really not part of the draw of their DNA around how they treat people. And so there's a real clash between the experience people have when they're walking into a lot of healthcare providers in terms of their assumptions, and then the assumptions on the other side of the desk. So that leaves us with some gaps. There's some gaps and some missed opportunities in patient acquisition because of culture.
So the biggest gap that I find is once someone takes an action online, so let's say you're driving traffic to a page and you're asking them to request an appointment or something like that. A lot of times people will take that action and there's no follow-up that happens, or they'll make a call, and that the immediate aftermath of that form fill or that phone call is where a lot of the gap is. So let's talk about ways to fill that gap, and let's talk about reasons for that gap.
Yeah.
And you touched on them a minute ago, but a lot of times the people that answer phones, it's someone who's a business manager or a front desk person, receptionist type of person, and usually that person doesn't have a sales, customer service.
They don't have that background, but they're also not incentivized in any way.
Right. It's just more work for them.
Yeah.
We're already busy. Why do I need to deal with this? I've got 10,000 other things to do.
Yeah.
So that's the gap we need to fill. We need to make sure that when someone reaches out and says, hey, I would like an appointment, that somebody answers the phone and somebody gets back to them soon if they fill out some digital form. So let's talk about ways to fill that gap.
Yeah. It's in the South, we have a phrase, that dog won't hunt. And what it means is that dog's not motivated. That dog sits on the porch and that's not a hunting dog. That's not a dog who's eager. And so, these folks who at no fault of their own, they're really sort of set up for failure because for them, calling once and not getting an answer, or calling once and getting a voicemail, leaving a message, kind of checks the box of, did I do my job? And so, I like the phrase that new patient inquiries die in the phone tree and in the inbox. And so we can actually talk about both of those separately. But in the inbox, Rains, why don't you talk about how many times is it appropriate today to follow up with a new inquiry?
I mean, I would say you never know how motivated the person is. So just because they fill out a form doesn't mean they're motivated. So I would say at the very least 7 times.
I was going to go 5 as a minimum. I think 7 is very comfortable.
5 to 7.
And that may sound like you're hounding someone, but think about a small business owner who owns a house painting company or something else, or any kind of shop where they're trying to get work in. They're following up that many times.
Yeah, and think about it. I think about it in terms of motivation again. So let's say it's dermatology, and someone sees a mole on their skin. So that might motivate them at that very moment to say, it might be time to get this checked out. And they'll Google something, and they'll come to your site, and then they'll see where you can ask for an appointment.
Yeah,
and then maybe they fill something out and maybe nobody gets back to them after 2 days. Well, that 2 days might be enough time for all kinds of other things to happen, and they're not as concerned about the mole anymore. They noticed it that one time. So people's motivation waxes and wanes. So you need to be there to fill that gap and to get back to them. Like 10 minutes is what needs to happen. Someone fills out a form. There needs to be someone who gets that notification. It shows up in a way that's notable to them. It automatically bumps it up to important in their email box, and their job, part of their job. And this might be someone part-timer that you hire, or an external partner that you get a phone call center.
Create a call center operation.
And train someone to, if someone fills out a form, they get a call back in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So setting up a workflow where there's an immediate process is a really different animal than having voicemails queue up in an inbox and someone's job being to check those once a day. Someone calls in 10 a.m. They don't really hear back from anybody that day, and the next day they've already slept on it. They're moved on. They might have even checked in with other providers and gotten somebody who answered the phone. And so if stuff's going to a voicemail in a phone tree, it can die both in the phone tree experience and in the voicemail.
And for form fills, you can even do things like tools like Zapier out there. You can set up if you're a front desk person whose job it is to call, like, you can set up text message alerts on your phone. So when someone comes in through the form, it zaps over to your text messages and says new lead, name, and have their number right there, so you can just call them right back from your phone. Like, you can set things like that up. Like, the technology exists to do that. But the point is that at that first 6 hours after they fill out a form or make a call is they're at their peak desire, and you gotta, and because that desire waxes and wanes, you have to capture them in that time frame.
Yeah, and then another thing that we've talked about, and this applies not just in healthcare, but we see this a lot. But there seems to be an old, outdated culture, outdated in my opinion, of we don't want to take time with people calling in. We really need to put the work on them to navigate a phone tree so that it can just go to the right person, because that person's time is so precious that we can't risk having them answer a phone and have to forward a call. I think that if you're in the business of bringing people in, you want to kind of take a Chick-fil-A approach and cut out the phone tree. I think it would be worth testing out. Hey, what if you just answer every call that comes in? What if you have somebody associated with this? You could probably do a pretty easy cost-benefit analysis. But I think that a lot of phone tree experience is a real negative. What that's really doing, that's really kind of an outdated, I would even say like a 1980s kind of way of making it so that we're almost putting the brakes on customer service and helping people, while we're also at the same time doing cold calls and trying to get more people in. Well, listen, those people are calling in. Those are your audience. That's your opportunity to help. Yeah. Let's kind of update our thinking on phone trees and maybe start cutting those out. Let's just start cutting them out. All of our marketing, when we put a phone number out, it goes straight to my phone. I don't even like using the Google Voice number. Yeah. We have one, but I don't like it because it adds that extra little step.
And you sprint across the room to get it if it rings.
Yeah, and when our phone rings, I answer it. I'm the president of the company. We're not a tiny operation. We exist, but I care and I want people to be able to reach somebody. Yeah.
Let's talk about another thing too, appointment scheduling online. So this is another thing that's in terms of the consumerification of healthcare. Nowadays, when we do business meetings, Michael, when you do meetings, when I do meetings, I never go back and forth anymore with times. It's so tedious to like, does this time work for you? No, that one doesn't work for me. There's services like Calendly and Schedule Once where you just put that can look at your calendar, give dates, and people just pick a date and schedule. People are expecting to do that more and more because it's so much friction to go back and forth. Like, hey, we have a slot at Wednesday at 3. No, that doesn't work for me. 2 o'clock works on Wednesday though. Oh, we can't do it Wednesday. What about Thursday at 2? This needless back and forth. People expect the convenience of being able to log in and see, here are all the times available for this practice or for these sets of doctors. Yeah. I know what my schedule is. I want to see where their schedule aligns with my schedule, and then schedule. Yeah,
when I get a new sales lead in to GoEps or Dodgeball Marketing, I send my Calendly link out within minutes, and I say, "Hey, thanks so much for reaching out. How's one of these times?" And you can use tools like Calendly. You can actually set it up and configure it to offer different meeting times. So if you're in healthcare and you just need, and you don't want to spend the money for an online scheduling integration, you can use some of these short-term solutions and just block in time. You could say new patient meetings.
You could say our new patient meeting is from 12 to 12:30 every day. Yeah, so we're going to block that off of the main schedule. It's blacked out.
Make it available. Yeah,
it's only for new leads, and then most people can pick, if they have 7 days, they can pick a 12 or 12:30 to get in. But that's what you have to do.
Yeah, you don't even have to commit to a 5 or 6 figure software integration with one of the healthcare marketing platforms. that's sort of an end-to-end solution. You can actually just use one of these off-the-shelf tools, and if it's set up in an elegant way and you think through the process, you can really cut out a lot of the noise and the things that limit people from feeling empowered to use your services.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we have to go on this. So, like, bottom line is consumers are behaving towards healthcare more and more the same way they're behaving towards electronics and other things. The add to cart kind of mentality. And so the more you come and to meet the way people want to interact with you, the more you're going to win, the more you're going to create better patients, better patient outcomes, and so on. And so closing those gaps is important to that.
Yeah, and those inquiries can come in by phone. They can come in by email, so you need to make sure you don't have any dead email boxes. They can come in by web form, which are generally going to shoot over to an email. And then more and more in the future, we're going to see those coming in through a social media channel like Facebook Messenger. And so this is really a problem that we need to solve around consumerism in healthcare and a more consumeristic approach. And consumerism even sounds bad because everybody's kind of worried about it being price shopped. But let's just think of it as customer service that's up to the standards of what people are expecting in 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, because the consumer's not going to change.
They're not going to change. The market's not going to change. Expectations have totally shifted.
Yeah.
All right.
Hope that was helpful. If you're a healthcare provider watching this, I hope that was helpful for you in terms of closing the gaps in your own patient acquisition program.
Yep. So, and if you need help, give us a shout.
Yep. See you on the next one.
Thanks.